And we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to 2026. Are we still allowed to say that? Well, tomorrow's the last day. Oh, no, it's
Mm-mm.
Sunday.
31st is the
Saturday.
last day.
Okay, Saturday is the last day that we are allowed to say Happy New Year. Welcome to the new year. Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon, good evening if you're joining us from South Africa and within this time zone. Good morning if you are in another part of the world. And well, hello if you will watch this recording weeks, months, maybe a year after we have gone live. I'm deeply, deeply excited to kick off the 2026 Full Color Leader Series conversations. Sure, what a journey. And my guest tonight was there right from the beginning. But before I get into who my guest is, I just would like to share maybe a little bit about the Full Color Leader Series conversations for those who may not know. So, this platform, this series, is inspired by my book, Thinking in Full Color. I hope you guys can see it. Multicolored Ideas for Conversations. Um, yeah, we launched this book in 2021, and it's been a journey of really living it. You know, the subtitle of the book is Multicolored Ideas for Conversations. And we will be sharing details. I know we have Ulindela in the background who will write the full title of the book, as well as my name in terms of if you are looking for the book. But anyway, so tonight's conversation, I suppose, is inspired by really what the book seeks to achieve. The book is a collection of 77 essays with various topics that touch on the human experience. And, this idea around healing and purpose is something that my guest is deeply passionate about. So, maybe before we kick start, I wanna just maybe do a little bit of an icebreaker with the guys who are slowly coming in. And really, the icebreaker is it when you. I mean, the title of this conversation is "Lean In: Healing as an Ecosystem." So I want you to write one word that you think best describes lean in. Please don't Google or use ChatGPT. I mean, use what naturally comes to you and then one word that best describes healing. And you can even use a vernacular language for this. It's just to get some participation going. But yeah, but anyway, without any me delaying further, I would like to introduce my guest, Nosiphiwo Mkhize. How are you doing this evening, afternoon in South Africa?
I'm good. I'm good, yeah. No real complaints. So I'm good. I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. So, I mean, I said in my intro that you were there right from the beginning, obviously, in my journey when I was, before even going I suppose even publishing the book, you really held my hand and with such an incredible support for me, especially from a brand advisory and from a comms and a sounding board. And we became, such deep friends and sisters since then. But for people who don't know you, and for people who are going to listen to this in different settings, how would you introduce yourself?
So I don't like this question. Not because not because it's a wrong question, but
Yeah.
how do you sum up a human being in a simple
Mm,
introductory sentence? But yeah, but if I had to introduce myself, so my formal titles are daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a wife, I'm a
mm,
mother, and I'm a working woman. And then
mm,
in my kingdom titles, I am beloved, I am forgiven, I am
mm.
purposed, I am equipped, I'm called
Mm,
out, I'm gifted. So those are just a few of the titles I can say and identities that I have over me. But by profession, I'm a life coach. I like to call
Mm,
myself a purpose coach also. But even the word coach these days, I'm also battling with it because I'm just like, does it really hold well the thing
mm,
that I am gifted to do? But we'll say that I'm a life coach. I'm a workplace culture practitioner. By that, I mean I have a deep desire and passion to impact the way our
mm,
workplaces culture and how we are as people within those spaces. And then also by degree and 17 years, I'm a marketer. So I'm a
mm,
driven person. I'm driven by purpose. I'm driven by big questions. I'm a big question person. And yeah, and those are just a few things that can describe who I am.
mm. For somebody who doesn't like the question, you've articulated it quite well. Um, so maybe before we obviously get into the meat of the conversation on the topic, which is really lean in, healing as an ecosystem, and we'll get into it soon in terms of why we titled it that way. Um, so the work that you do, particularly in, I mean, I suppose your kingdom mandate, as you so beautifully put it, is the foundation of the work that you do. And then you have these fruits or these tentacles, right, that then go into the world. So let's maybe start. You've called, you are also your personal coach, but you're also the founder of Sacred SelahSA. Let's start there. Where did it all begin? And the reason, and the way I want you to answer this is to share what were some of the life experiences, number one, that impacted your conviction around the work that you do. And you'll tell us what work is that. And number two, Sacred Seller, what does that mean? What does the name mean?
Okay, cool. So I think when we talk about my experiences that it just inspired for me to actually end up where I am today. So I've always been gifted the opportunity to ask the question, why? And in
Mm,
that gifting, really, so my dad was a teacher. So most of his life, he was a teacher. And in the teaching aspect, it's just always about the answer, but digging for the answer. So because my dad was that type of guy, he always allowed me to ask the question why. So I'm the type of person who just doesn't take things for face value. I've always
mm,
got to ask why because I believe in the conviction behind the answer that allows me then to move forward.
mm,
And then also then there's my mom. So my mom then allowed for the being able to sit in something and then ask yourself the question afterwards, am I happy with this? And if I'm
mm,
not happy with it, then change it. So
mm,
that courage and that ability to really just change those things. So in that, I've always then been a very deep thinker
mm,
and always wanting to understand how things got to the point where they got to, especially when it comes to myself and myself then when it comes to then the human experience. Why do we do the things we do? How did we end up here? And do we want to be here? So those are really some of the things that have really been the foundation. And then that's when then the healing thing came about because
mm,
as I kept asking the question why, and you
mm,
keep bumping into the response, I don't know. And then for me, and that's one of the things that really used to upset me because what do you mean we don't know? How did we get here? And it's okay, fine. If we don't know, do we want to know? And so then
mm,
in the actual healing space, then for me, I was like, if our answer is I don't know, and if we say we want to know, let's then unpack that. And that's then really where the whole healing thing came about, where I realized that a lot of how we
mm,
function in life, and I learned this with myself, how we
mm,
function in life was really based on things that were either given to us, things we picked up along the way that we never really took the time to ask, do I really want this? Do I not want this? Is this okay? Is it not okay? And so then to heal that, to to heal some of the identities and some of the narratives that we've been given in our growing up, to then become the people that we actually were created to be at the end of the day. So that's really
Mm,
where the foundation came about, and me being in a space where I was just like, this doesn't make sense to me. I know that
mm,
not everything can't will ever make sense in life, but when it comes to the human experience and my belief that we were created for so much more, and my belief that we were created for abundance. So in order to tap into abundance, in order to have a basket that is full, I need to fix the holes in my basket so I can hold the abundance.
mm,
So that's really where my journey really has the foundation of it.
mm,
And then when we step then into Sacred Seller, so the name Sacred Seller really was only coined really last year. So
mm,
originally, when I started the journey, which was about it's going to be 5 years, 6 years now. When I
yeah.
started this journey, it was just called Seller Coaching. And
Mm,
even the logo. So when you look at the logo, so the logo has remained then. So the logo is an actual tree, because I
mm,
believe in rooting and fruiting. So so
mm,
so that's where it really came
mm,
through. And then last year, when I was really sitting with God and I was asking him, is this it? What is it that you want me to do? What do I name this that hopefully encapsulates the stuff that is going to be
mm,
coming out of it? And so then that's where Sacred Seller came about. And really, when you break down that word, so sacred really meaning holy or deeply
mm,
valued, set apart for a higher purpose, and carries a sense of just like
mm,
reverence. So it's something just not ordinary. And then Selah, so Selah, I cannot assume that everyone knows, but really, when we look at it from the Hebrew, and we mainly find it in the book of Psalms in the Bible, it really just means, a pause to
mm.
reflect, you know. And generally, when you look at the songs in the book of Psalms, it will always have like Selah,
So
where
yeah.
they will put it as like a musical rest. So it's really something that Selah then means, a moment just to stop and let things sink in, a moment to breathe, a moment to reflect. So then when I think of just then Sacred Selah, it's that divine invitation just to stop,
Mm,
to breathe, and then to also reflect. Yeah.
mm. Sure. Um, Thank you for that context, and I can definitely attest about your curiosity, inquisitive energy, where you are always like, when I say something like, "But Freud, why? Like, why?" um, which has added value into my life. Sometimes has been frustrating because I'm like, no, see, I'm also still trying to figure it out, you know. Um, Healing as an ecosystem. What comes to mind when you think of that?
Okay. So when I think of an ecosystem is a makeup of many organisms that create this thing. So when I think of healing then as an ecosystem, what it says to me is that healing doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Mm,
Healing is a solo journey. So it is something only you can do for yourself. I can't do it for you, Bongeka. I may be able to point out things. I may be able to journey with you. I may be able to encourage you. I may be able to, when I think of a friend who walks with you. But when it comes to the actual work of healing, it is a
mm,
solo trip. It is only something that you're able to do yourself. So the ecosystem part of it for me is, what are the different organisms and the different things and the different tools around you that you are using to pour into your healing journey. And I think sometimes we probably miss that when we think of the concept of healing, we think it's this torturous thing that will happen by myself,
yeah.
and that I am not able to lean into different things and places and people who probably are ahead of me in the journey, who probably see something that I'm not able to see. And yeah, so when I think of an ecosystem and healing, that's how I see it. And that
Mm,
also, healing you means that all aspects of your life are impacted.
mm,
Sometimes we have this idea that we somehow can compartmentalize how we show up the different spaces of our lives. And for me, I don't believe that you can do that efficiently all the time, because you are
You
one being, and
mm,
you are one being who travels into the different spaces of your life, and therefore I will always be who I am wherever I am. It may be different percentages, but I will always be
mm,
Nosiphiwo in my family life, in my work life, in my friendship life, in my mom life, in my being a parent at school life. So healed me also is within that ecosystem around my life. So that's what I think, or that's what comes to mind for me when I say healing in an ecosystem.
mm. You know, as you're talking, I'm thinking about maybe the word healing itself, right? Because we are in the time where I think there is quite a lot of conversation on social media about healing and it being tied to mental health. And I suppose for somebody listening to you and listening to the work and the approach of Sacred Seller, what domain of healing are you talking about? Because we can say there's physical healing if
Mhm.
I've if the like I've hurt myself, or there's an ailment in my physical body, I will go to a doctor or a physician. If like I'm not well mentally, I'll go see a psychiatrist or psychologist and perhaps might be prescribed particular medications to help regulate that. Somebody may argue if my heart is broken, my soul is broken, I may go to a place of worship to replenish me. And sometimes when I'm lonely, loneliness is a form of ailment. And when I'm surrounded by loved ones, that in itself incubates a healing remedy. So, Sacred Seller, what is your unique value proposition to the healing enterprise? And if we have a business leader or a political leader or an individual listening to you, what would you say? Hey, this is the domain we play in, and this is what we have to offer.
Okay. So the one thing about Sacred Teller, so Sacred Teller has a coaching aspect to it. And that's where then I would then, from a walking with people, it would be within that coaching space. All of the spaces that you have mentioned, from physical healing, mental healing, spiritual healing, loneliness healing, all those are very valid and very needed aspects of the human life. You do need to tap into those different spaces. When it comes to coaching and how I then carry the healing mandate, is that first of all, I'm not a therapist, so you're not going to come to me, and I do not have the HPCSA plaque on my wall there. And I value and I honor the whole psychotherapy space, because I've also journeyed through it. And I always view it from a sense of, so you come to a therapist because something has fallen apart and something isn't wrong. And if something is wrong, and generally what they do is they seek into your past and seek into the behavior to actually see how did we get here, to then help you realize and understand the patterns and the things that have happened. And then when I think then of how coaching comes in, it's really now when you start asking yourself your questions. What now? So
Mm.
what? I'm here now. You know that you have an actual goal that you've set ahead of yourself. So, but do I have the tools? Do I have the
Mm.
tools? Do I know how to go about it? And am I going about it in the right way? The point about coaching also is that it's really led by you. My role in
Mm.
your life is really around asking you the probably the scary questions that you probably are scared to ask yourself. So someone else is going to ask them to you. My role is to keep asking you the question, why? Why do you want to do that? Because I believe in finding the true answer gives you the conviction that allows you to continue on the journey that you want to go towards when it comes to the goals that you set. And then also I'm there to hold you accountable. So to hold you accountable to the decisions that you've made for yourself. So how then does the healing aspect comes in? Because that is one thing that I'm really, really big on, is that a lot of the decisions that we make, or the goals that we set for ourselves, or the things that we have for ourselves, the desires that we have for ourselves, sometimes are difficult to really reach and step into because there are some form of blocks within ourselves. Sometimes
Mm,
it's just limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, those inner conversations that you have with yourself that really
mm,
don't give you the access that you need to step into the space that you need to step into. Sometimes it's not stepping into the full power that you have. And so
mm,
when we speak about then healing in the way that I then journey with you from a coach aspect, I will ask you the questions that really rattle the cage of the foundations that you've set for yourself. And
mhm,
sometimes when we really give ourselves enough time to sit with ourselves, so when we think then about that selah, that moment of sitting with yourself and stopping and
mm,
thinking and pausing and breathing, we start to realize that actually that isn't the reason why I decided to do this, or
mm,
I'm not quite sure, or actually, this is the conversation that I have with myself. And so the healing part then comes in when I ask you and put the mirror up to you
mm,
and say, you, this is what you're saying, this is what we're seeing. Is this true? And if it is not true, how then do we navigate into a space of truth, into a space of healing? And sometimes truth is about healing because it means I have to let go of something in order to pick up the truth. And in the letting go, that's then when the healing process happens. In that process, sometimes the response is then we need to actually then seek a therapist because there's still
mm,
some things that need to be unpacked in there. And in that healing process, it's sometimes me, I'm just probably just a space of safety where you're able to process. Because a lot of us really, when you think about our lives, how many of us have spaces of safety where we're able to process with no judgment, where we're able to process and have someone carry what needs to be
mm,
carried and have someone give it back to you? So, in my healing space, it's really about creating an environment of safety. It's about creating an environment of exploration. It's about
mm,
creating an environment of unbecoming to become.
mm,
It's about creating
mm,
an environment of encouragement. It's about
mm,
creating an environment of celebration. And sometimes just being able to have a space where you're able
mm,
to selah brings
mm,
about healing in a lot of us. Just a space to breathe because we sometimes we don't realize it that a lot of us are walking around life holding our breath and just
mm.
going through life. So when we are
Sure.
then given the opportunity to breathe and we're
Mm,
able to bring that oxygen into the brain, and then we're able to think, we're able to process, we're able to write things down, and then we're able then to create what does the journey look like that you want to go on. We're able to create the tools that you need, we're able to create the steps, and you're able then to then truly start really walking towards the thing that you've set out for yourself. Yeah.
mm. Sure. Um, I hope that clarified for a lot of people because for me, there were a lot of ahas there. One of the things I love that you did is you clarified the difference between therapy and a coach because I think a lot of people do not know that difference. And I also think you brought a certain level of eligibility to the coaching craft by unpacking some of its domains. And again, and the reason why I mention this is there's a lot of people on social media who are intelligent, have a certain level of EQ, and they just call themselves a coach without having necessarily gone through some sort of accreditation process that satisfy that what's the word that they can then be certified that they can perform this very big and important work um, and the points that you highlighted, being able to hold space so that somebody can unbecome to become. I love that title from also Ayanda Thingborato's book. Speaking about the tools that you're able to craft, you, darling, have launched a very exciting tool. Tell us about this incredible tool, Lean In, a self-reflection tool by Sacred SelahSA, which was launched this year. Tell us about this tool. What is it? What do you hope that people will gain by, really ensuring that this tool is part of their healing toolkit?
Okay. So one of the things, life in general, that I really, really don't like is when someone says go. Go where? How? Do what now? I'm just like, and I feel like we are in a space, especially when it comes to healing, where everyone has been made aware that there is an aspect of them that needs to be healed in some shape and form, whether it's the way you perceive things, the way you think, whether it's you have something. And but the how do I do it though? How do I actually start this thing? And so that was one of the triggers for me. Was if I'm ever going to create something, it needs to be something practical. It needs to be something that people can truly use. Then on the other end, also, I realized that part of the healing process and a lot of healing things that are out there are really around sitting with yourself, reflecting, journaling. And when you mention the word journaling, a lot of people leave the room because
Yeah.
what do you mean I must sit down and I must write my emotions? How? When? I've never been able to do that. So for me, journaling has been something that has always come easy for me. So I've been journaling since I was 13 years old. And back then it was a dear diary. And
Yeah,
writing
yeah,
all of that
yeah,
down. So
yeah.
it is something that I've always been able to do. But it's also been something I've been able to do because I've always been given the environment that allows me to think. Because my dad allowed the conversation around the question why, because my mom would always ask you, are you happy with this? So I've always been challenged to always sit and reflect. But I know that it doesn't come easy to everyone. I know that it isn't a skill that anyone, we can all just pick up a pencil and start writing our emotions, especially when also we've never been taught how to engage with our emotions, how to engage with our thoughts, how to give language to the things that we feel. And that's always the biggest thing for me also. If I can't name it, how do I even engage with it? How do I
Yeah.
even? So in then creating this, one of the things around Sacred Selah is about creating tools. I want to be able to give people the tools that allow them to start whatever process they need to start. So the tools then that we create under Sacred Selah are really open-ended tools. By that I mean they are meant to be a match that just like strikes that flame. And then, but you are the one also pepeza and to really make it into the flame that it needs to be. You're the one who's going to pour. But some of us just need that match to be struck in order for us to click into it. So in
What does
creating this,
pepeza mean? Sorry, no.
to fan,
Pepeza.
to
For the
fan the
people,
flame.
yeah, yeah, guys. You see, Zulu people
To fan the flames.
to fan the
So
flame, everybody.
So really then, in creating this tool, it was a case of how do I introduce people who know that they want to step into something different for themselves. They want to grow. They want to heal. They want to figure stuff out. And they want to exercise this thing of taking what's in my mind and writing it down and seeing what comes out. So when I created then the tool, it was a sense of how do we create something simple that anyone can step into so it's not intimidating. It isn't just a blank journal.
It's
And now I must just
beautiful.
start
Yeah.
writing on blank pages. It isn't just a blank journal. And because I'm a mom, and I don't know if you can hear the screaming in the background, so because I'm a mom, one of the things which my children have taught me is the power of play and the power of creativity, and that children learn through play. Children access what needs to be accessed while they're playing. So you think you're doing something silly and frivolous, but actually there's so much more that happens that actually comes out of it. And so one of the things then is that in the toolkit, it's a coloring in book. So you'll find that you're able to color in because sometimes I don't have the words, but maybe the color red It's just the thing that represents how I'm feeling today. So you'll find that you have a coloring in aspect of it, a full page of coloring in. Then also there's an aspect where you're able to robot system. So a lot of us, because we've grown up in the corporate world, we understand the robot system. You know, when you come and
Oh
you
gosh.
have the
Yeah.
check-in with the leaders, and all they want to see is a spreadsheet, and the color that jumps out at them is what they're going to talk about. So using that thing of what we know, the robot system. And while you are robot systems, if I don't have time in the day to reflect, I probably only got 5 minutes, I'm able to say, was it a good day? Green. Was it an okay day? Orange. Was it really a tough day? Red. And then by the end of the month, you'll be able to see what color jumps out at you. And then you can use that as your point of reflection. Why is it red? What happened? All of a sudden, you've got a trigger on how you're able to sit with yourself and actually reflect. And then I've also then got weekly pages, which then also have questions that allow you to start thinking, what went well this week? What didn't go well this week? How did it make you feel? What one thing are you going to take into the next week? And so in that, you're able then to start building the muscle of being able to think around reflection, how you feel, what happened, how did it make me feel? Did I like that? Oh, that worked. I'm definitely taking that into the next week. And in that, you will then start building habits of the good. In that, you start identifying what doesn't work and hopefully start dropping those things that don't work. So that's really then how this book came about, is that we talk about consistency, we talk about discipline, we talk about, these huge words. But what are the tools? What are the tools that help me become consistent? What are the tools that help me become disciplined? And the point of this tool also is that it's about grace, giving yourself grace.
Grace.
So it's not going to ask you every day I must be documenting and I must be writing essays to myself, but it's just
Mm.
about grace. And sometimes grace to yourself is 5 minutes of a robot system. And that being enough, that I
Mm.
have reflected today and not feeling like you're not doing enough towards whatever goal you've set for yourself this year and towards it. Yeah,
Mm.
that's all.
Sure. I know somebody asked, what is the name of the title of the toolkit? Uh, we've written it down there. It's Lean In, a sacred self-reflection tool by Sacred Seller. So maybe Nosi, you can share a little bit in terms of where can people get the tool. Listen, I am loving it. I started using it for really my academic journey, because yeah, that's been the big change in my life recently. But yeah, maybe you can share can people, number one, follow your work, where can they get the tool, and any other detail that you'd want
Yeah.
to share around the tool. Yeah, maybe you
Okay.
can go ahead, just share that. Yeah.
Before I share that, what I want to say, Bongeka, as you've said, you are using it for your academic journey. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of this tool. You can use it for anything that you want to document as your place of growth.
Yeah.
And so it can be for anything. It can be, I want to be able to read more this year. And then you just
Yeah.
document that, oh, what happened this week that I didn't read the 10 pages? Oh, it was because I sat on social media too much. But now all of a sudden you have that thing that's written there. It's social media that's getting in the way. So next week, how do I reduce those hours to fit in the pages? It can be, I want to have better internal conversations with myself. So how was my self-talk this week? Where was it really bad? Where was it really good? And how do I then? So, whatever you want to use it for. And I even then say, even in the corporate space, I think one of the
Mm.
things, being a leader of people, so I was a leader of people for many years. And when it
Mhm.
came to mid year reviews, full year review, I think one of the most difficult parts was having the track record of, we
Mm.
decided on doing this at the beginning of the year. How did you progress through it? And and
Mm.
and and one of the things I always used to battle with, which is why this book also was founded from that space, was creating a tool that allowed my team to be able to track their development, to track their growth.
Mm.
And so it
Mm.
can be used for anything. And so that when you have the conversation with whoever you have the conversation with, you've got a record. You can say that, and things shifted in April. Oh, now we're in August and things are actually looking like this. So yeah, so
Mm,
where you can find the book, so I think the best place is really to follow the journey of Sacred Selah on the
mm,
Instagram Sacred Selah page. So literally, so if you see the actual name there, so founder of Sacred Selah, so it's at sacred underscore Selah SA. So all of that being one word. So at sacred underscore Selah SA, and there you will get more videos on just what the tool means, how to use the tool, what does it look like inside, how does it cost, where do you drop your message to actually get yourself an actual copy of it. So yeah, and where you can engage also. I think one of the things which I've asked in the book as I write a note to you is share your coloring in pages. Let's
mm.
see how you've engaged with the creative part of yourself. We all think we're not creative just because we're adults. Once upon a time, coloring in was
Yeah,
the
all
best thing we
creative.
ever did.
Yeah.
Best thing we ever did. So, and we're all creative beings. Yeah.
We live in a world of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, for me, we live in, and it's funny how these systems want to push us to a very black and white world. But the whole,
Yeah.
when you open your door, you see color, the trees, like nature is colorful.
Mm-hmm.
The animals, the trees, the water, like everything has so much color, and which should be an indication to us that surely life has so much color. So I loved that dimension of coloring and that return to the child, because the child is there. The inner child never leaves. It's
Yeah.
she he they're inside of us. You
Yeah.
just reawaken them.
And the thing about
That's
the child is that what I've heard a time ago is that we are all just children who've happened to now be in adult bodies and have money. And now we're able to do the things we always used to think
so
about as
exactly.
actual
Yeah,
kids, as
yeah,
actual kids. So there is that child in there, and there's value in the child being in there because there
yeah.
are things that the child is able to step into without fear that we lose when we grow up. So to be able to bring the childlike aspect along with us in our adulting is really something that really can help us see the world in the colorful aspect that it is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sure. And just thinking about the tool itself, this idea of leaning in, for me, what also comes up a lot, um, is many of us are the walking wounded, and
Mm.
many of us are also the present absent. So
Oh,
by walking wounded, I mean that we show up, we go to work, we 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 talk to our families, we still have to do the adult things, but inside we are bleeding. And to your point, not enough people, and I like the analogy you use when somebody's like, just do it or just go. But it's like, where? Not everybody has had the opportunity to be given a set of tools to know really how to lean in within yourself and ask these deep, profound questions. And the idea of the present absent is many of us are present in life. Like, of course, I wake up every day. If you mark the register, who woke up today? Present, like in school. But we absent in terms of being conscious of the decisions that we make and the life that we live. And what I like about the questions you ask in the tool, they really, the seller, allow you to take a moment and pause. And I suppose be conscious. And it's not to say that it solves all your problems, but at least you are investing in a tool that is allowing you to live life much more, not just present absent, but be present. So you're
present.
present physically because you woke up, but you're also present to the decisions, and the choices that you are making.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really beautiful for me.
As you're talking, I think one of the things that has always made me sad is when you ask adults, how did we get here? And they have no idea how they got here because we live in an autopilot type of manner for various reasons. And I remember, so I live by the scripture John 10:10, which is I've come to give them life, life in abundance. So give me
Mm,
life, like you're saying, we are present, we are alive. And
mm,
abundance, though, that's the abundance aspect where I'm just like,
mm,
what does that mean? I played with that in my mind for a long time. What does
mm.
abundance mean? And I remember one of the moments that really struck me about the present absent was driving from work and getting home and not remembering how I got home because you're an
Sure.
autopilot.
You're an
Because
autopilot. Yeah.
yes, your body clicks into the unconscious and it
Yeah.
just knows where to go. But I remember
Mm.
parking and I was just like, I actually don't know how I got home.
Sure.
And if something
Sure.
happened, I wouldn't have been able to react in that moment to prevent whatever. And when you use
Sure.
that analogy with life, a lot of us are in autopilot that when something
Yeah.
happens, we are not aware and responsive enough to either see it coming at us
Mm,
and then do something about it, or it hits us. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves in a place in
mm.
life where we thought we would never end up, but now we're here. But this accident caught us and we didn't know. So for me, being aware of life
Mm,
allows you to make the decisions that you want to make. And
mm.
when we say, I don't know how I got here, it's because you've been making decisions that you haven't been conscious of and
Conscious. Yeah.
aware of. And so the prayer around the tool is to start
Mm,
building that muscle of pause,
mm,
that Selah, that pause, because it's in the
mm,
pause where you're
mm,
able to hear yourself, hear the questions, see the environment, catch the emotion, and then make the decision. And I always say to my kids, there's nothing wrong with pausing. If someone asks you and they're coming at you fast, nothing
mm,
wrong with stopping because no
mm,
one gets hurt. Nothing dies from a pause.
mm,
But
mm.
but things
Sure.
can die from just moving. So
Sure.
the
Sure.
prayer of
Sure.
the tool is that you actually learn the skill of the pause. And in learning the skill of the pause, then you start to apply that skill into the areas of your life which have major impact, major impact. Because one of the things sometimes we don't realize as human beings is that because you are born of a person, you are connected to a community. And therefore, everything and anything that you do, someone along the way is also impacted
Mm,
by it and yourself. So to be able to just pause and
mm,
and and ask yourself, what am I doing? Do I want
mm.
to do this? How do I feel?
Sure.
This is how I
It's
feel.
beautiful.
Okay, okay, I can move from here. I can move from here. So that
Mm,
down the line, when you're asked the question, how did I get here? You can
mm,
pinpoint every single step back and be able to say, and I am proud of the decision that I made to how I got here.
mm.
So yeah.
Sure. Wow. The muscle of Selah, the muscle of pause. As you're talking about that, I'm thinking this is such a contradiction, right, to the world that we live in,
Mm,
from a perspective that there is value in busyness. And I know I've been contemplating this the last year or two, this idea around productivity versus fruitfulness, or rather,
mm,
sorry, busyness versus fruitfulness. And many of us are busy, but are we fruitful?
yeah.
And there's a whole context to that. But I think there is this worth and this medal that's placed on. I jumped from this meeting. You see it in corporate, back-to-back meetings. Da, 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 da.
Sorry, I've been in meetings all day. It's been back
Sorry,
to back.
da,
It's
da,
been
da.
crazy.
You know, sorry guys. Da, 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 da. I was working through, and it's this, and you know, I was looking at somebody the other day, and this person is nearing retirement probably in the next 5 years. And this wave, busy, 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 busy. And I thought to myself, yeah, I would not want to be in my late 50s. No, I promise you, that was me. I was like, this is not the life I want to sign up for. So, and hence that's why I'm loving this muscle of pause. That actually it's okay to say, let me take some time to think about. I've seen so much value, and I say, let me sleep on that. Yeah. So this idea of the muscle of pause and the muscle of Selah is beautiful.
Heck, I've even learned the muscle of pause in my marriage. So I come from a
Mm,
big family.
mm,
And I think one of the things my mom taught us is because we are so many of us, when something happens, let's talk about it, let's fix it, and let's do it now. Because there's
mm,
so many of us, there's constant movement,
mm,
and so she didn't want to have anyone left behind. But
mm,
when I got married, I realized that I was rushing building our relationship because I just want us to move, I want us to fix, I want us to do it.
mm,
And I've learned just to respond, can I come back with you on that?
mm,
Because it
mm,
has saved me emotional responses that then create bigger problems. It has saved me from assuming that I know in a situation. It has saved me from completing my husband's sentences because I think I know what he's going to say. Just learning just to keep quiet, because in keeping quiet also you're just able, you hear better. We don't hear anymore. We don't hear anymore. You just hear better. And in hearing things better and hearing yourself better, just because you
yeah.
paused. And then you're also able to respond better, because sometimes we just
Mm,
respond because we think the moment needs this. And meantime, that's not what it
mm,
needs. Just pause. And for
mm,
me, in my corporate journey, in exercising the pause meant I had the bravery to say, unfortunately, I don't do meetings on Thursday and Fridays, because how
mm,
else am I going to do the work that needs to be done, the fruitfulness? How else am I going to
mm,
do the work that needs to
mm,
be done if I'm consistently
mm,
in the busyness, in the looking busy, in the
mm,
my diary
mm,
is back to back, in the speaking big English in
mm,
boardrooms, in the showing up and shining
mm,
like a star. But then what about
mm,
the actual pause that allows you
mm.
to process, that allows you to think, that allows you to impact the corporate
Sure,
space with
sure.
wisdom, with the right decisions? Because I said, I don't do meetings on Thursday and Friday. I need time to
Mm,
think. I need time to
mm,
work. I need time to
sure.
process. And that's the how the muscle of pause, the muscle of Selah even impacted me in my corporate life. So yeah.
Mm,
And yeah, we
sure.
are busy. We're busy. We're busy. We're busy. We're
Yeah.
busy. We're busy doing nothing. My dad used to say that. Busy, 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 but you're doing nothing.
Sure. Yeah, sis, you know what? I want to just check in. If there are any questions from the audience, I think we live in two different platforms, if I'm not mistaken. So if people do have questions, they can pop them through now. We will take some of those because we are nearing the end. But if not, we will still continue. So I want to check in with you, Nosi, in terms of what is next for you. I mean, obviously, I have some insider information around your life, where you're at right now, which I won't divulge. But what's next for you on this journey?
What's next for me on this journey is really the courage of continuing to walk with people. I
Mm,
may have stepped into the mandate of coaching and creating tools and all of that, but every day it still needs me to remind myself why this is important work,
mm,
why I
mm,
value the human being. I think the human being is the most beautiful thing that was ever created, because it's the culmination of the creator himself. So how are we meant to journey together? And so what's next for me is that I am open to walking with people. So from a coaching aspect, drop me a note, let's chat. What's next for me? I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly learning because I myself am still on a journey myself. I
Yeah.
speak from a place of having journeyed and having been growing and becoming and unbecoming myself, but I'm
Mm,
still learning myself. So I always enter a space with, I may hold the expertise of something, but I know that there's always room for more. And so I'm
yeah.
always learning for myself. I am creating more tools that really continue to assist us in becoming the people that we all know within ourselves that we are. So I'm creating the tools, and I'm praying every time I create something that it does truly does impact us as people. It impacts us in our families, in our communities. And then also I'm just every day waking up trying to just to fulfill the mandate, to fulfill the mandate of Sacred Selah, to to be a great mom. So let me not also be this mandate of Sacred Selah for the world and not be able to do it in my own house. So that's constantly a lesson for
Mm,
me. But
sure.
yeah, so that's really what's top of mind. There is a lot that I have within me that I do want to create and put out, but I am also learning the pause. Just because it's there, it isn't a burning platform. Everything has its time, and
Mm,
everything needs to be incubated long enough. I was thinking during the week, Lord, help me not prematurely birth anything
mm,
that needs to be birthed, because then you're putting things in the NICU, and now we are on life support machines. And then also help me carry what needs to be carried for
mm,
the time it needs to be carried for. So when I think of pregnancy, 40 weeks is the ideal. So let me carry the things that need to be carried for the time it needs
mm,
to be carried. So that when they are birthed for that moment and that time for your
mm,
people. So yeah.
mm. Sure. Something just came to me, and it was triggered by what you shared around how you also that this kind of the work that you do and who your beingness in the work, that you would hope it would trickle to your family as well, because I suppose there isn't much value, for lack of a better word, to be this known person in the world, and or like somebody who holds space for others, but you go home and your family experiences a different face, or a different they have just a different experience with you. um it reminds me of the quote by Mother Teresa that says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family,
Mm,
because it starts there. And yet I'm also confronted by this idea, ne? And maybe you will help me think through it as we conclude. Many times we find that people who are in the healing enterprise, and healing, I mean, I could even mean pastors or anybody in that spirit, in that space, or leaders, political leaders who, or community leaders who do this amazing work and help people. And maybe the people that are close to them, not all, some of them may have a different experience of that. They may feel like, oh, who knows it, but out there she says she's understanding, but for me she's not. Now here's the dilemma I sit with is, of course, when your family and your friends confirm that indeed the Nosi that is live, I can confirm that's who she really is. It authenticates your profession, right? It authenticates that what you're doing is really pure and it's true. But how do you also factor in your humanity? Because you being this incredible personal coach, and as you put it, on a kingdom mandate to hold space for others, does not necessarily make you a perfect person. So there will be moments, many moments, especially with your friends and family, that there's a passage of scripture that says a prophet is not honored in his hometown. There'll be moments where we see your humanity more than we see your gift, and maybe speak to that nuance and that, because I think some people maybe struggle sometimes with that. People who are particularly called out to provide some sort of healing message or healing platform to people. How do you balance your humanity with the gift that's been given to you?
I accept my humanity. I think
Mm,
that's the biggest thing for me
mm,
is that
mm,
because I know that I am human, I am aware that I will fumble because
mm,
I am human. And so, in knowing my humanity, I have given the people in my life who I know love me in the right way. I've given them
mm,
authority to hold me
mm,
accountable.
mm,
I've given them authority to correct me when I need to be corrected. I've given them authority to come along with me because I am human. Because I am
mm,
human and because I do what I do doesn't make me superhuman and above anyone else. And
mhm.
when I hold that truth, I
Yeah.
am reminded every single time that what I do isn't something that should ever be an idol because I am human
Mm,
myself. Even myself will need
mm,
a coach, even myself will need. So, in giving people the authority to hold me accountable in my humanity, to make sure that it's always aligned to the gifting and the mandate that I have, I also need to be open to the feedback that comes. I also
mm,
need to be aware that when my mother says, I don't see this anymore, I need to sit down. I need to
mm,
step off wherever I'm standing and sit down and so that's the thing for me when I think of because there is that fear that we sometimes hold that it's going to take
mm,
over this mandate and then I'm going to have to be this person, but it does. When we remind ourselves of why we do what we do, first of all, and I always say
mm,
anything connected to people need to always be about people. It's not about you. So
mm,
that when you
mm.
disappear tomorrow, it isn't something. So when I disappear, it should never be everything that I'm doing disappears with me because it was never about me. It's not connected to me.
Sure.
So in that also it's reminding myself of my why. It's that
Mm,
why question and answering that and the conviction of it. And when I veer off it, the people in my life are allowed to hold me accountable to the why that I had said, which means always being honest and vulnerable with them, and then learning to take feedback and learning to be honest and learning to say la. When I'm
mm.
veering off to actually say,
Then
I need to get
Stella.
off this, I need to get off this bus. This bus is going too fast. I need to get off this bus and I need to reassess why do people say there are two versions of me out there and I need to reassess that and then reassess it against the truth also against the truth of what's going on and then be
Mm,
able to gather myself. So yeah, so accept your humanity, and in accepting it you know that you are open to also fumbling,
mm,
but you are also able to come back from it.
mm. Accept your humanity. I know one of the key pillars of self-love is self-acceptance. You cannot love yourself and self-acceptance in all ways. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
sis. Thank you for being open to kick off the 2026 Full Car Leader Series conversation. I want to check if there is a question. Oh, that's more of a comment. This has been a great conversation to start 2026. Great things coming for PTV. Thank you, Nosi, for sharing your wisdom. Yeah, I'm delighted. We started this journey of the Full Car Leader series, and who knew 3 years later you birth, your own amazing tool. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your continued commitment to live in your purpose, in your God mandate, and to live conscious. You're one of my favorite people to have these abstract. We can go from abstract to corporate to spiritual, and and this muddiness, and we can do it all. And I enjoy people whose brains work like mine, where we literally can be interfacing with multiple ideas at the same time. I'm excited about this, and I know that it's going to make a difference in so many people's lives and as well as in your life. I don't know if there's any other concluding thoughts. I've said enough. Yeah, I've said enough, and I just want to thank everybody else that was also able to join. I mean, we will share this link as well, for more people who watch post this. Are there any concluding thoughts from you, sis, or we can wrap this up?
I just want to say thank you. I want to say I'm proud of you for keeping on doing this. I mean, 3 years later, and the
Yeah,
world is a much better place when we accept different ways of thinking, because it opens up our minds to different things. So I want to thank you for this platform that brings different ways of thinking
yeah.
to the world. And yeah, and just thank you. And I want to encourage us to take the leap of faith, that to answer that question. We all have a
Mm,
question. We all have a challenge within us. Take the leap of faith, because you know what? If it doesn't work out, you're just where you started.
mm,
But what if it did?
mm.
But
What
what
if it
if
did?
it did?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Bye.
beautiful, beautiful day, evening, night, morning. See you in the next installment. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.